conversation, people.
I need you guys to show this.
What do we look at?
Green gas that they're throwing at us in a residential neighborhood. This is not tear gas. This is gas that is banned for military use. This gas causes permanent lung damage and lung cancer, and they're throwing it at us in a residential neighborhood when we are peaceful, observing protesters. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. Again, guys,
So, welcome, guys. We've got breaking news here. There has been another person shot in Minnesota after an interaction with the DHS. They apparently recovered a gun from him, but there's now riots in the streets in Minneapolis. They are attacking the police, throwing rocks. They are gas masked up. Pretty interesting day so far. Let's get into it. This is Fox.
More information. Obviously, there's a lot of emotions here. A lot of people are here. Tensions are high. It does seem to have calmed down a little bit because, as you guys have seen over the last couple of days too, once the federal agents leave the scene, it does seem to calm a bit, and it looks like nearly all federal agents have left, is what I can see. I do see what looks to be a fire station. It looks like a fire truck, and we know that EMS was on the scene as well. I just see maybe an ambulance too, so we'll try to get closer now that it's opened up and see what's going on that side. We'll check back in soon when we can.
All right, so again, that was actually some of the coverage coming in from our Fox 9 Minneapolis.
Okay, we're gonna see what else we can't find on it. Duplicate tab. Close that guy out. Back you out. Badam. Yes. We'll keep that playing for now. While we try to find something else. Matt Morse looks like he's covering it.
If you are just joining us
right now,
I
hop in and see what he's got going on. Here we go, CBS. Looks like they've got going on right now.
Saying essentially here that man was armed, and the Department of Homeland Security saying that
there's a gun. Picture the gun that the Department of Homeland Security has given to all of us here at CBS News.
That looks like a SIG.
That the individual who was shot and
SIG
killed
Sauer.
was brandishing to the ICE agents, and that
With
is
an
the reason
extended
why
threaded barrel.
they fired and to protect themselves.
And the chief did again say that
I think it's
it was someone who was
P365.
permitted to carry
What it looks like.
a weapon, right?
Yes.
And it really got me just seeing the police.
You can see on the magazine right here where it says SIG Sauer.
You know, people were saying, "Hey, can you say the name, chief?" And he said, "No, I can't." And that
It's a 9mm with a 15 round
who are
magazine.
getting the worst news of their entire life this morning. Who knew that person?
And we've talked to the chief just right after Renee Good
1 second,
was
guys.
shot and killed, and he said this was his biggest fear. This was his biggest fear, that this would happen and it would set off a chaotic scene in the streets of Minneapolis. And this is what they're dealing with right now. An unlawful assembly near 27th and Nicollet where a man has lost his life. And people, like you said, the tensions are high and people are lashing out and saying no more.
Shooting.
And I think that
up in
the
Minneapolis.
hope by him was that this won't get worse. And the way they're saying to not make it worse.
Got here just in
is
time.
to stay home right now.
That's right. And police
Guys, I'm going to hop off here. I just got company.
Go down there.
See, people are there, though.
I will.
Down there. But, and he just said,
Actually,
you
I'll
do
just
have a
mute my
right to,
mic, and I'm going to
express
leave you
your
guys
personal
watching
rights and
this. I'll put it
protest.
on the
But
full
when it gets to the
screen.
point where you're attacking these agents who are trying to do a job, it becomes an unlawful assembly, and they want people to disperse in the area.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are being reminded of what happened in the days after George Floyd.
Make sure. Hello, hello, hello. Hello. Yep, nope, that's the other one.
It's been a huge theme over the past few weeks, right?
We've seen it in different locations, especially at the Whipple building, the Whipple Federal building, where crowds have gotten a little out of control and they've used chemical irritants to try to control them. But even in -7-degree temperature, Susan and Elizabeth, these people are still out there expressing their discontent with ICE in our communities.
I know, and there's probably people around other country, you know, in other parts of the country going, how in the world do people do this? I think something I took away from yesterday's huge, large-scale protest on the coldest day in 6 years in Minnesota was that that's part of it. People are saying, we don't care how cold it is. We want to make our point. We want our voice to be heard. Esme Murphy was at the press conference with the mayor. And Esme, I know one of the most startling things about that press conference was that the police chief didn't seem to have a lot of information about what had happened in his city.
It is surprising because it obviously is a homicide that happened in the city. Also, I'll note that there have not been that many homicides so far this year in the city of Minneapolis. 2 of them have involved ICE now, which is a remarkable statistics. I know that we're awaiting the press conference from Greg Bavino, the commander of the Border Control. I'm sure they didn't want this as well, but certainly there are an awful lot of questions. I go back to that protest yesterday, which was so powerful. It was so powerful to see thousands and thousands of people in sub-zero weather. I mean, this was -10, wind chills -30, deciding that they had to come down and march and take a stand. I mean, this is something that is permeating the entire state of Minnesota. It was interesting, you heard the woman from suburban Edina that you had on. This is registering across all kinds of people, suburbs, exurbs across the state. And I think there's a lot of concern. One of the things that I was planning to do this coming week is interview somebody from the Minnesota Farmers Bureau, because they are worried about some of these ICE raids in the rural areas and in the outstate areas, because those areas depend on immigrant labor to do all their work. So this is a very, very sobering time. And something that Reg said, really stands out to me, Reg. All of these people behind the scenes, like the mayor, the police chief, officers on the ground, have all said they were worried this was going to happen. Some said it was a matter of time. And I think the fact that it has happened is just something that is so alarming. And I think that you have this parallel universe where DHS will come out here pretty soon and make a statement. And they have their reasoning. They are going straight ahead, at least according to the statement from Tricia McLaughlin. They're already justifying this as a justified shooting, saying in Tricia McLaughlin's DHS statement, I think that that's very important. That came out within minutes of the shooting, that this man, that the agents were approached with a gun. So I think that's a pretty quick step that we've heard from DHS. It'll be very interesting to hear what Greg Bavino has to say. And obviously this scene is still unfolding, but you folks are doing a great job up there. It's just a very tense situation here at City Hall, as everybody is just waiting to see what happens, and also what the commander of the Border Patrol has to say in just a few minutes, we hope.
Watching that press conference from here, it just seemed there was a heaviness and a sadness to the police chief, the way he gave that information.
And the mayor.
And the mayor, obviously, just very passionate and clear, asking the president to come into cooperation. How would you describe the room, Esme?
Well, I can tell you, I agree with you, Susan Elizabeth. I've covered both the mayor and the police chief a tremendous amount. The police chief did have a heaviness to him. He is an emotional man. We've seen him shed tears when there have been shootings of police officers. He basically looked just worn and just very...
At Vistaprint, we print signs so people can see your brand up close. But we also print signs so that people can see your business here. See it here. And see it here, so you stand out, even when they're way back here. Get 15% off signs and banners at Vistaprint.com.
The tension on the streets is so high. It's so high. I mean, it's just, everything is so volatile. And this man that was shot, the police chief said he has a conceal and carry permit. Well, thousands of Minnesotans have conceal and carry permits. There are a lot of guns on the street, both legally and illegally, in Minneapolis. I know that photojournalist Joe Kaczynski and I were at a scene and December 15th that quickly went out of control. And I remember both of us looking at each other, and this was a scene where there were arrests and people were knocked to the ground and confrontation with ICE. I remember saying that, you know, all we need is somebody to pull out a gun, and this is going to be a disaster. Sadly, this continues to happen, and I think officials here are just, I think, a bit in disbelief, but obviously moving forward with what they have to do.
Okay. Thank you so much, Esme. I want to read a statement here. We are hearing from Tom Emmer, congressional Republican from Minnesota, and this is a statement that was made on X. It says the governor and local leaders' rhetoric has empowered criminals and put federal law enforcement's life at risk. It's dangerous and has made the situation in Minneapolis much worse. Unlike my Democrat colleagues, I'm going to let law enforcement conduct their investigation. So that's what we're hearing right now.
From elected officials are saying that.
Let them figure out what happened, asking people not to make assumptions. And I think we all want to know more about what happened, and I believe that we will after we hear from Greg Bovino here
and then
in just a few
hopefully
minutes.
within a little half an hour from now, we'll also hear from Governor Walz, and that's where Caroline Cummings is on her way to see what he has to say about that, and hopefully, you know, we can get shed some more light on exactly how this investigation will move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And we just want to kind of walk through it again for people who woke up this morning to the news. It was just about 9:03, according to the Minneapolis police chief, when this happened. Eat Street, very family-friendly, popular area of Minneapolis. There's tons of ethnic restaurants. I mean, Caribbean, Mexican, you name it,
German food.
Yeah, everything is right there in that little hub. And this is 9 o'clock on a very cold, -9-degree morning. And then we started getting word here that there had been a shooting involving federal agents.
And then we got some video into WCCO that showed officers or agents, excuse me, on top of one individual. There was an altercation, and then we hear gunshots. And that was in front of the Good Grocer there on 27th and Nicollet Avenue. That's when we started hearing whistles and started seeing people come out yelling and screaming at ICE agents. And they were trying to set up a perimeter, HSI, Border Patrol, and ICE agents to try to make sure that they contain that scene. And our Adam Duxter is live still out there near 26th and Nicollet. Adam, what's going on there?
He's been out there all day.
All day.
Yeah, Reg and Sue. So when we saw you last, hold on, I'm going to pause.
Front here on 26th. You need to move back now, or chemicals will be deployed. This is your warning.
I want you to see this. Barricade to the north, barricade to the south, and then if you look here to the east, Suze and Reg, we're on 26 now, headed east. If you look to your left, or if we'll show you on his left, they are setting up dumpsters here to block the street from these large armored vehicles to get out. We're standing right in front of Little Tijuana there, and here's the Prodigal. I mean, again, these are, if you live in Minneapolis and you like to go out to eat, people know this area. You hear the promise for chemical agents here, and the reasoning behind that, Reg and Suze, is you see this barricade here. This is 26th and 1st, or yes, this is 26th and 1st here, where you see these people lined up, and you see these dumpsters set up here, because what's about to happen here in a moment is they're going to attempt to clear this scene. We've been saying it all day long. And this is what's going to happen. Sorry, are you associated with this restaurant here? We're talking to people. My name is Adam. Would you talk to us for a second? We're at WCCO. What is your name?
Jeff.
And you're the owner of the Prodigal here. Yeah. You just heard the warning a second ago. They're going to come through with chemical agents. We are standing right in front of your restaurant.
Right. We're trying to be a public house. You know, we're trying to let the neighbors gather in peace and in safety and to fight against this bullshit.
How are you feeling? You're looking straight down.
A neighbor was murdered. One of our regular pub attenders was right there. I mean, they were murdered on the street. Well, I mean, how are you supposed to respond? It's ludicrous. It's asinine. It's crazy.
You're a business owner.
I'm a business owner. I was shut down yesterday. We're going to have to be closed today. It affects, you know, there's a lot of ripples, not just emotionally, spiritually in people's lives, but economically in the neighborhoods and businesses.
But as a business owner, you pour into this community.
I've been in this neighborhood for 40 years. I was a pastor for 38, 2 blocks down.
how would you describe this time now compared to any of the other times you've seen?
Well, it reminds me of the Middle East. It's total chaos, military presence, invasion. Everybody in Minnesota wants these folks out. 2 people have been murdered.
Anything else you'd want people to know? Your business is right here. We just heard from the owner of another restaurant just up Nicollet as we were standing there. Yeah. But I think for the business owners who love and pour into this community, your insight is so valuable. Is there anything else you'd want people watching at home right now to hear from you?
You know, I just think that we need to stand together, and we need to tell the truth about what we see and not let others tell us what we're seeing.
Jeff, thank you. I know you're busy. I know, and Reg and Suze, I mean, we just heard from the owner of the Prodigal. We heard from the owner of Pimento a moment ago. And you also just heard from the State Patrol, who said, hey, this is your warning. We are going to deploy chemical irritants. And we were talking with our crew here. We have a photojournalist and we have security here with us as well, about what's the exit plan or the exit strategy going to be for us. And we're looking, and here at this apartment complex, they have an exit that would be a place to get out, barricaded off. And then if you look behind us here, you see those dumpsters that are set up here on 26th. Yeah. And you both saw when we were on Nicollet, as it feels like things are ramping up here a moment, you both saw on Nicollet what the scene was when they tried to roll through that armored car. My sense of time is a little skewed, but I want to say that was at least a couple of hours ago now. And yo, there was people hanging off of the front of that armored car. And you hear them urging this crowd now once more to go home, and they're slowly going to push back. And they're trying to walk this crowd back, because what they're going to do is they're going to try and move these vehicles through. And we're going to go to Mike Max here in a second.
Okay, thank you so much, Adam. And you heard the State Patrol there saying that they will deploy irritants. Let's go to Mike Max right now, who's on the other side of the perimeter. Mike?
Yeah, they've issued their last warning. They're slowly walking, and they're now starting to confront some more of the protesters that decided not to succumb. They've already made the threat that they're going to deploy gas again, and there's a small group here, contingent, that is choosing, I guess, to confront the officers as they walk slowly, and then they're trying to set up a bigger perimeter to get the vehicles out of here. But some people have chosen to continue to stay right up at the line here and fight this. So I think any minute, if they don't, you're going to either see the spray come out, or they're going to get chemically deployed. They're going to have some chemicals deployed. You can see the vehicles behind them that they're trying to get out of here. And in essence, I think they're trying to leave the scene, and there will be no one to protest to.
Is what they're doing.
And so you can see this right here. They're just slowly walking. We can get over here, Nick. They're slowly walking. They're putting down, and about 10 feet from where people are throwing dumpsters and cables, here they come. You see if you can get that shot right there. Okay.
Maxie, can you tell?
They just deployed tear gas.
Who is deploying the gas?
So there's our officers, there's the people, and about on Nicollet and 26th, they're now starting to throw dumpsters towards the officers, which you can see over here. Simple debris. Oh my, if you get the shot there, the gas is coming in a big way. Look at everybody coming, and the tear gas is right behind. They're going to clear the streets. This is coming in a big way right now. Look out, Nick, there's a car behind you. But the gas has been deployed. They've just deployed all these troops. And the people are either going to have to walk away, or they're going to have tear gas in their eyes in a matter of seconds, because it's moving down this way. We've seen this before. You can see the white gas there. You can see the people confronting the officers. But they probably won't be here for long, because you just can't take it when that chemical gets into you. All you can do is cough. And so this is the final retreat, I think. There are far fewer people, by the way, than were here before. The last round of tear gas sent a lot of people either home or scattering. But they're moving quickly now, folks. Here we go. Let's go, Nick. We're going to get it, buddy. You can see the canisters coming out. Here they are right there. and they're moving the last group of people as best they can out of here. And oh my, that's right by us, man.
Yeah, we kind of lost your shot.
Now the people are throwing it back. They're throwing it back at the. We gotta go. We gotta go.
Yes, we want you to get to safety right now.
I got you, Nick. I got you, Nick.
But we can see the shot from Sky 4, and you can see the chemical irritants actually sweeping through that area that were just released by those law enforcement there on the scene. They're trying to control the scene. The Minneapolis police chief has said, Brian O'Hare, this is not sustainable. This is an unlawful assembly. They're asking people to disperse the area, and they're forced to use chemical irritants to drive them out of that scene.
And I'm not sure if you could tell, Reg, I know when we heard from Adam, we could hear it was State Patrol that was asking people to leave or saying they were going to deploy irritants. I couldn't tell with Maxie who was deploying the irritants, if it was
either,
federal
but
it
looks like it was state officials who were basically trying to contain the scene, trying to make sure protesters are safe, but also to disperse.
And I cannot imagine in this moment out there if it's not confusing to people.
They don't know who's federal, who's state,
who is local, and there's been an amount of people who have seen local as sort of their protection in this, and then they have seen ICE as agitator. And in this moment, not sure who can tell who is who.
And that is true. And as you see, people are moving back. Those chemical irritants seem to be working to disperse that crowd. Our Mike Max was caught up in it as well, him and photojournalist Joe Van Ryn.
Our absolutely amazing photojournalists who are on the line. And I want to be clear to you, it is below zero. There are high winds. There are irritants in the air. But this is how important this story is, that we are committed to be there. We have security with us, too, is we are not taking this lightly at all. But we think it's important for you to see history unfolding with your own eyes. That's why our crews right now are still rolling, see? With the tensions like that, people just running, coughing, mourning, screaming.
And how cold it is, the irritant seems to linger in the air. So even after the big impact of the smoke passes you, and we've been out caught in this too, Suze.
Yes, we have.
Just sticks to you. You cough and you can't get it out of your system because it just kind of lingers, and that's what we're seeing right here. But as Mike says, it's just the adrenaline that's keeping people going, because how are they doing this in negative 7-degree temperature?
Speaking of adrenaline, Adam Duxter, his crew has been out there since at least, 9:30 this morning straight. Adam, what's happening on your side of the area?
Yeah, Suze, we just saw a second ago, and I don't know if you could hear it if we had any live feeds going. We saw one of the people in this crowd throw, I don't know if that was an M80 or what, but some sort of firework back towards the federal agents, not federal agents, sorry, rather the State Patrol who is here to try and disperse people. I told you all essentially this morning, as we're probably to a safe spot in the gas, but this is what had to happen at some point, is they had to get these crews, whether it's Minneapolis police or Minnesota State Patrol, or I'm not sure how many federal agents are still here, but they had to get them out at some point. And so that is really what we just saw. And it appears they're trying to get out on 26th and head east from the scene. But that was as much force as we can see, and it sent the entire crowd scattering. Gas, you name it. They're using less lethals, as they will say, and that stuff is no joke, as you've said. You want to ask yourself the question, though, is if they're clearing the scene, is this at least slowing down or settling down for now? I can tell you that we were at the scene when Renee Good was shot and killed by ICE agent Jonathan Ross just about 2.5 weeks ago. And the biggest clash we saw that day was when the federal agents were trying to leave. And then things were kind of on a standstill with Minneapolis police on scene that day. And then there was another clash when Minneapolis police left. And then almost instantly that night, if you can both remember, people just started flooding back into the scene, and it was a vigil in a moment's time. And then that night, the night that Renee Good was killed, if you can remember, on 34th in Portland, there was 10,000 roughly people out there in a peaceful protest that night. And so you wonder now if those crews have rolled out, and we can give you again a look back there as they are rolling out. You wonder and you hope if that is the end of the clashes, at least for today, if that they're through, and that this street will reopen, and there's no longer a standoff, if you will. But you could see that gas and the attempt to get out there was so intense. And now I think the crowd is pushed back and they're not sure what to do. But you could still hear it a little. But again, I think we've been saying it all morning long, is that as this crowd grows, at some point, the law enforcement on scene is going to want to try and clear out. And we saw that happened just now. That is what we just witnessed, and you can still see. Our photojournalist Will Griner is going to give us a shot down the street. Look at that image, just riding through the smoke of the heavily armored vehicles on 26th, and just the armed people running with them. And now it looks like, again, things are really clearing out. But you would hope, Reg and Suze, that with people clearing out, with those law enforcement on the scene clearing out, that we've seen the end this morning and this afternoon of people being gassed, or just these less lethal means used. But you really can't say for sure. But that's what we just saw there a moment ago, was them just trying to move out.
Well, thank you so much, Adam, for your reporting this morning. We want to go now to Greg Bovino, who is in town. He's about to address us from the federal perspective. It sounds like they have a lot of information about what happened. We're waiting to hear his words. He's coming to the podium right now. Let's listen in.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here today. I'm Gregory Bovino, and I have the privilege and honor of leading United States Border Patrol and Customs and Border Protection.
Are potbelly wraps really delicious, or are they just a lighter option?
Yes.
Are they low in carb or high in protein?
Yes.
And any sandwich can be a wrap?
Yes.
Introducing new potbelly wraps. All the bold potbelly flavor you crave, now rolled up in a warm wrap with fewer carbs and even more protein. We're giving the world a better wrap.
Now this is a wrap.
No, it's a potbelly wrap.
Potbelly, we bring the hot.
Operation in Minneapolis against an illegal alien, Jose Huerta Chuma. You can see this illegal alien on the screen to my left and right. That is Jose Huerta Chuma, whose criminal history includes domestic assault to intentionally inflict bodily harm, disorderly conduct, and driving without a valid license. During this operation, an individual approached U.S. Border Patrol agents with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The agents attempted to disarm the individual, but he violently resisted. Fearing for his life and the lives and safety of fellow officers, a Border Patrol agent fired defensive shots. Medics on the scene immediately delivered medical aid to the subject, but the subject was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect also had 2 loaded magazines and no accessible ID. This looks like a situation where an individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement. Then, about 200 rioters arrived at the scene and began to obstruct and assault law enforcement. Crowd control measures have been deployed for the safety of the public and law enforcement. This situation is evolving, and more information is forthcoming. The officer was highly trained and had been serving as a Border Patrol agent for 8 years. The officer has extensive training as a range safety officer and less lethal officer. As mentioned, this is only the latest attack on law enforcement. Across the country, the men and women of DHS have been attacked, shot at, doxxed, had their family members threatened. And, as we have seen, more than 100 vehicle rammings over the past year against federal law enforcement. We will not allow violence against our law enforcement officers, and we need state and local help, state and local law enforcement, to help us coordinate to get violent criminals off the streets. Mayor Fry and Chief O'Hare just a few minutes ago did the opposite of that by omitting the fact that the suspect had a gun and magazines full of ammunition. In what looks like a situation, again, where an individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement. I want to reiterate what President Donald Trump, Secretary Kristi Noem, myself, Director Marcos Charles, and so many others have said time and again. If you obstruct a law enforcement officer or assault a law enforcement officer, you are in violation of the law and will be arrested. Our law enforcement officers take an oath to protect the public. We go to work every day to protect our friends, our neighbors, and our fellow citizens. The fact of the matter is that the law does not enforce itself. It takes men and women who are willing to risk their lives to enforce it. The men and women of CBP and ICE, law enforcement, are highly trained professionals who love this country and do this work because they want to leave their kids and their grandkids a country that's safe and secure. Questions?
Commander.
One question. First question, when did agents learn that he had a gun, and did he ever brandish that weapon at agents?
Allie, this situation, again, is evolving. This situation is under investigation. Those facts will come to light. This particular incident is being investigated just like we investigate other similar incidents like we've done over the past several years. It's in the hands of professionals. Those facts will come to light.
All right, going on to the next question. So, did he have an additional gun, or was the gun moved from the scene? And I watched the video from start to finish of that woman who was wearing the red jacket, and it doesn't seem like he pulled the weapon at any point. So, did it come from the agent? Did they say he pulled the gun before, during, after? When does the gun come out?
Again, this situation's evolving. This is under investigation. Those facts will come to light. But let's take a look at the gun. You can see the gun here on the screen there that individual possessed. It appears to be a semi-automatic, high-capacity type, possibly a Sig Sauer 9mm.
All right, no more questions. Sorry, no more questions, sir.
Commander, the videos that are publicly available directly contradict the speculation that you are putting out there at the moment. What comment do you have? Commander, there is no video supporting the way that you are addressing this issue.
Okay, I am joined right now by Frank Vassalero and Derek James. You guys came in, of course, this is such a big story. We're going to be continuing it nonstop. But that was the first time we got a little bit more information on what happened. You know, we had talked to the police chief this morning who said, I know very little. Greg Vivino giving more information as he says the federal account was that at the end of the day that an agent feared for his life.
And that an individual with that 9mm violently resisted arrest were Bavino's words, saying that an agent fired defensive shots, that person had 2 loaded magazines, and that he considered this an attempt at a massacre against law enforcement.
And we should be clear that that person that they shot, Bavino says, was a citizen who saw them trying to arrest
this other gentleman,
an undocumented immigrant who they are going after, supposedly someone with a criminal record. And he intervened in the situation in some way. Now, he didn't explain how police saw the gun or what led to that. And then we had a good question from our Connor White that was unanswered about what you're saying doesn't appear to be the same story as what's happening in the video.
The video that we're seeing thus far, which is one angle that we've seen reportedly, and obviously we know, as we've heard from our reporters out there in South Minneapolis, that there are folks recording and documenting this everywhere. So it is very likely that we're going to see additional pieces of video.
Everybody's been watching is this video and wanting to know what led up to it. And we got a little bit of information from that today. You know, the president, right before this press conference started, put a message out on Truth Social. So we are getting that in right now.
Yeah, let's bring that to you if we can pull that up. This is the message from President Trump. It reads, "Where are the local police? Why weren't they allowed to protect ICE officers? The mayor and the governor called them off." Now he's asking that as a question, as you can see on the screen. It is stated that many of these police were not allowed to do their job, that ICE had to protect themselves. Not an easy thing to do. The first time that we are hearing from President Trump today.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll hear more from them and more from DHS. And again, we just heard from Bavino's side, but you know, there's a lot of conflict, and as you can see, emotions are running so high, and people are upset, and they're completely disregarding the order of, hey, please don't go to the area.
Right.
Please disband. They're doing the opposite, and that's not a judgment statement. That's just a factual statement, because I know that people are upset and they're angry, and it's a very emotional time, and people are really passionate. And to wake up on a Saturday morning and see another person in Minneapolis shot and killed at the hands of an ICE officer is extraordinarily upsetting to folks.
It's very interesting. It takes me right back to the moments after Renee Good, because we're going to get a lot of different perspectives on this, right? I mean, at this point, the city's saying we basically know nothing. And then federal officials saying that. People are going to see the video. There's going to be so many questions in the days ahead. They didn't even take questions after the press conference.
Yeah, and
they did.
Well, a few, yeah.
They took questions.
Okay.
That too, and I just worry almost more about the immediate, and I'm not sure what our tour is going to be here. We'll find out through our producers where we're going, but I'd like to see how, you know, what's going on with the crowd. We saw what happens with Mike Max,
right,
where Frankie was on one side of 26 in Blaisdell, and where Adam was as well, because those are longer term questions. Today, I'm just wondering: is there more violence? Is there more disruption? This order of dispersal that we've heard from the police is not being obeyed or listened to. And we're going to try to bring people a sense of what's happening on the ground right now, and then start looking at those other
different angle of video we're getting right here. We got this into the station of the situation that unfolded. This is a different angle. We got this video from the Associated Press, so it gives a little bit of a different perspective on what happened. I think people could all see agents surrounding someone, and we've had to blur out part of it right there. But this gives you an idea of a different angle, and we know in these moments, phones are running, everyone's rolling.
And
right?
I think it's important to pull out, as we live in a world of AI, and people are saying, even the protests yesterday, oh, well, that is AI video.
Yes.
There's a rigorous process that goes through before we put these videos on the air, whether that's CBS News, WCCO, or the Associated Press, to verify the video. And we actually have teams that work to do that, to verify these videos before they ever go on air. Well, one other thing that's been talked about a lot since this Operation Metro Surge started is how much experience do these various federal agents have, because you have so many different agencies on the ground at the same time, as our reporters have even seen today. One thing I noticed is that Greg Bovino, when he spoke just moments ago, said that the agent, I believe, that fired his weapon was a Border Patrol agent with 8 years of experience.
Yeah, he did say that.
Yeah, let's hear a little bit more about what he said about what unfolded.
At 9:05 a.m. Central Standard Time, as DHS law enforcement officers were conducting a targeted operation in Minneapolis against an illegal alien, Jose Huerta Chuma. You can see this illegal alien on the screen to my left and right. That is Jose Huerta Chuma, whose criminal history includes domestic assault to intentionally inflict bodily harm, disorderly conduct, and driving without a valid license. During this operation, an individual approached U.S. Border Patrol agents with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The agents attempted to disarm the individual, but he violently resisted. Fearing for his life and the lives and safety of fellow officers, a Border Patrol agent fired defensive shots. Medics on the scene immediately delivered medical aid to the subject, but the subject was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect also had 2 loaded magazines and no accessible ID. This looks like a situation where an individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement.
Okay, and earlier we heard from the mayor a little bit about the person who lost their life right there, and we were told it was a 37-year-old. Now, the police chief said that they did not have a record on the person outside of traffic citations, and said that they did have a permit to carry.
Yes, a lawful gun owner is what O'Hara said.
Mentioned from that, yes.
Yeah, a little confusion about that, and I'm sure we'll get it cleared up through the course of the day. We've heard he's 51, and then we heard a report that he was 37 from the police chief, who said he had officers with him at the hospital. But we'll get to the here and now and deal with that a little bit later. This is a live shot from our chopper, 24th and Nicollet, and, you know, a large crowd occupying, you know, all 4 parts of that intersection. I'll be curious when we get to our reporters if those ICE agents have left. I know that was a point of conflict. Some of the video that I was really taken with earlier today is you get an idea of people's passion and resolve when they're literally standing in front of an armed vehicle trying to force it not to move forward.
Moving, yeah.
Adam Duxter has been out there since moments after it happened. I mean, this isn't far from our station, so he got there pretty quickly. Adam, when we talked to you earlier, it looked like things were settling down. What's the feel now?
So you hear the cheering. This is exactly what we kind of thought would happen when these local police, local law enforcement, and federal agents move out, is essentially the crowd that was pushed back by the chemical irritants and the tear gas and whatnot has effectively walked all the way back into this intersection. So right now where we're standing is literally in the intersection of 26th and Nicollet. And I want Will to turn around and show you, try and get a sense of how many people are in this intersection right now. This is a massive crowd of hundreds, if not over 1,000 people in this intersection right now. Just like we saw, and I apologize if it's hard to hear me, but just like we saw after the shooting of Renee Good, is that this entire intersection has been blocked off. So people have brought in dumpsters, people have brought in tables and chairs and barricades. You see one person now addressing the crowd, but this is a crowd now that knows that law enforcement is gone, and so people have come back to this scene, come back to this intersection. I'm trying to get a sense of what's being said, but I can tell you now, this is a group of people, Frank and Suze, that were on all sides of this intersection. You saw clashes on the north, east, south, and west side of 26th and Nicollet all morning long. And now this crowd has gone together, and there is a sense of what's next. I know we talked about it, though, after we saw Renee Good get shot and killed just over 2.5 weeks ago. We saw the community essentially reclaim that area in the moments after. We saw them block off the entire 34th and Portland, between 34th and Portland and 33rd and Portland. Of course, we saw city crews come back and clear that the following morning. But you get a sense that it's going to take a lot for folks to leave this intersection now, especially that there is no more law enforcement presence. And folks are essentially listening and trying to figure out what's going on next. So I do want to listen a little bit to what's being said through this megaphone, because one person is talking and has the attention of this entire 1,000-person crowd right now. I'm going to try and give you a sense of what they're saying as best we can.
Hey, Adam.
Yes.
Well, a couple things. We have a chopper shot of your location so we can see how big that crowd is. You know, it spills onto all 4 crossings of that intersection. But I guess the key to the whole thing is that the police are going to be fine letting these people occupy this intersection. There are no state patrol, conservation officers, Minneapolis PD, ICE. They're all gone, it sounds like.
Nothing you can see, Frank. That's where we saw just within the last half hour those big clashes. It was those folks trying to move out of this intersection and clear this scene. And so no, you look every single direction now, and there is no law enforcement as far as you see. And I think that is why people have kind of come back to this spot. They've wanted to be here. They've wanted to be in community and be in this spot. And so since those folks have all cleared, since we saw those conservation officers, since we saw those state patrol troopers clear, now it is just people here in this intersection. And so as for what's next, now we're not sure. I'm sure some folks will go home. It is very cold outside still, despite the sunshine. But you hear this chant right now, Frank and Suze. Can you make that out? They're saying, keep this block. And so, I mean, you saw it following the murder of George Floyd at 30.
Life is hard enough. Getting an education doesn't have to be. This winter, get ahead with Sophia Learning's 70-plus online college-level courses designed to transfer for credit. All courses are self-paced, on-demand, and it only costs $99 a month. Sign up today.
2.5 weeks ago, people spent the night, and that was similar timing as far as when that shooting happened. Of course, this one was just after 9. Renee Good was shot and killed just after 9:30 in the morning 2.5 weeks ago. But people stayed the entire night, and people were building yurts in Portland. It's essentially saying they're in it for the long haul and they're not going anywhere. And so, you heard the chants just a moment ago, keep this block. And I think for people, there is even just a sense of relief, though, as you can imagine, that there's no more chance of getting tear gassed. And you hear now a chant being led, but Frank and Suze, there's over 1,000 people easy. I know you've got the chopper view. If you want, we could try and talk to someone here. I mean, I could keep talking all day long. I could try and talk to someone in this crowd.
Why don't you go ahead and do that? Maybe we'll circle back with you as we share a little bit of information. I'm curious too. I don't know. I know the Renee Good thing was so emotional. With her being shot, I know the reaction was less powerful or vociferous when the Venezuelan national was shot, and I don't know if the circumstances change, and I don't know if people are just upset that someone else has been shot, or the fact that this man apparently. The deceased person apparently had a gun and was trying to intervene. I don't know if that changes the equation either. It might be too early to even think about that because people are emotional. But talk to some folks. We'll get back to. As we look at this,
the crowds.
I can't imagine that there's any incentive for Minneapolis police to go in there and try to have these folks
with those barricades now set up the way that they are.
Very interesting.
And we're going to hear from the governor here. We're told any moment, and our Caroline Cummings is in the room. I also wanted to point out we just got word from the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office that they have requested assistance from the Minnesota National Guard to support deputies at the Whipple Federal Building so that they can relocate deputies to other areas in need of support in the county right now. Their job, according to this release, will be to assist the Sheriff's Office in protecting life, preserving property, and helping to ensure the safety of everyone in the community.
Well, that'll be a big deal. I'm sure the governor will address right away. They've been put on, he had them on a pre-assembly warning. Then he actually had them on standby. And now it looks like we're on the verge of seeing a deployment. We'll let the governor announce that. We don't want to speculate about that, but if that's what the sheriff's saying, and we'll see if that changes the equation, because I was curious about that too, Derek. There's several main points of protest, and one of them is Whipple, always has been. So we'll see if we can get a shot of what's going on out there.
As we await that information from the governor, we do want to show you again one of the newer videos we get. This is kind of an opposite angle of what happened. Now you can see the agents right there. A lot of people asking what led up to it. Greg Bovino saying that basically the agents feared for their life.
Well, they said the guy had a gun. And they were trying to make an arrest. It was a 9mm.
Yeah, they said it was a 9mm.
But the moment that I wonder about is where I can't tell. Were they trying to wrestle the gun away from him? Was he reaching for the gun? Was he reaching for an ICE agent's gun? Did he have it in his hand? Because usually, you know, you see them screaming from a distance, you know, drop your weapon, that kind of thing. I don't know how they got into this, you know, physical confrontation where they're wrestling with them. And did we not hear too, Suze? Did I hear that right? Was it more than one officer or just one ICE agent that fired his weapon?
We don't know about that exactly. Border Patrol.
Border Patrol agent with 8 years of experience, according to Patrol Commander Gregory Bavino.
Okay.
Right. And then, you know, something else that comes up here is we just saw those crowds where Adam was. Really powerful quote, I think, that we heard from the police chief, Brian O'Hare, this morning is, please don't destroy our city. When we see this image, a lot of us have flashbacks of 5 years ago. And they said, don't let innocent people get involved in this. The suggestion there, businesses, you know, the looting we saw before, they're really trying to temper that. And I expect the governor will echo that message here any moment.
Yeah, although, you know, listening to Maxie and some other folks, it just seems like a much different vibe of the